Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to take a look at some more figures from the Build-A-Weapon series from Star Wars The Force Awakens, and in today's review we're going to take a look at the very cool and iconic Admiral Ackbar. Now before I jump into this review, I do want to extend my sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Eric Bowersfield, who did do the voice for Ackbar in Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, who sadly passed away recently. So my thoughts and prayers are out to them. Obviously, Admiral Ackbar will live on forever on screen and obviously in action figure form. And this is a great figure. Really impressed with this one, and I can't wait to share it with you in more detail. So before we do that, as always, we are going to take a look at the packaging that this figure comes in. Once again, if you've seen one of these packages, you've seen them all. You've got the Kylo Ren brand image featured at the top there with the Force Awakens logo. Some very cool artwork of Ackbar, looking rather battle ready there. Probably the most action orientated we've seen him since the Clone Wars. Very cool image. On the back of the box we have some of the other figures available in the space mission theme of Build-A-Weapon figures. And as you can see, if you collect the 5th Brother Inquisitor, Tasu Leech and Admiral Ackbar himself, you can assemble all of the Build-A-Weapon pieces from this theme. And I'll give you a look at the assembled weapon in just a little bit. So there is the packaging that this figure comes in. Now let's take a look at the figure itself, and before we do, as I said, we are going to take a look at the Build-A-Weapon piece, which with this figure is this one. Again, gotta say, very goofy, very cheesy, but there's something about these sort of 1990s-ish gimmicks that appeals to me, and like I've said in previous reviews, some of the later waves of the Build-A-Weapon series do seem to be improving in terms of the quality of these Build-A-Weapon pieces. So I do like this one, and I actually think it looks rather cool on Ackbar himself, so I'll just give you a quick look at it. As you can see, it's a sort of backpack, jetpack weapon, and it just creates a goofy but yet appealing look for Admiral Ackbar, as you can see. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, if you do collect all the figures available in the Space Mission theme of the Force Awakens Build-A-Weapon line, then you can of course complete this Build-A-Weapon setup. Now, if we take the other pieces from the 5th Brother Inquisitor, you can plug this in to the side of Ackbar's jetpack. And if we take the blaster cannon that's included with Tasu Leech, you can apply that. I think I've done it wrong. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Ooh, got in. Ugh, used a bit too much force there, no pun intended. Just plug it in while it's off the figure. There we go. Very menacing piece if I ever saw one, you know. Again, it's very cheesy, very goofy, and it certainly looks out of place on Admiral Ackbar. But there's just something about these really silly gimmicks that appeals to me, and you know, this is one of the better ones, I've got to say. May apply this one to a Stormtrooper, recreate the Power of the Force Right Control Stormtrooper that was released over 20 years ago now. But yeah, it is what it is. You're either a lover or a hater of this concept, and at the minute I'm leaning more towards lover because, as I said, some of these pieces are getting a little bit better. So that is the assembled Build-A-Weapon piece from the Space Mission. Now let's move on and take a look at Admiral Ackbar himself. Now, as I said, this is a great figure, and I really love how Hasbro have handled this one. I'll run through articulation first, as there's a few hidden gems in terms of articulation with this guy. Sadly, we don't have a ball joint at the head, but what we do get with this guy is an articulated jaw. Now, I really wasn't expecting this feature to make it into this figure, but it did, and it's very cool. Gotta say, it's not something that we've seen on a figure very often. I think the last time and first time that we saw this on a figure was Bosk from the Black Series 6-inch line. But you know, really cool feature, I've got to say. Hats off to Hasbro for thinking outside the box and giving us that. As you can see, with the sculpt and shape of Ackbar's head, a ball joint would have been an awkward pose to have incorporated into there. So the articulated jaw really works. As you can see, it's on a hinge, and it's just a nice addition, which looks really cool. So you can recreate the famous line, "That's a trap." Sorry, couldn't resist. So in addition to the articulated jaw, we also have swivels at the shoulders and swivels at the hips. What I really like about this one is the fact that the tunic doesn't stretch too far down to restrict any of the movement in the hips, which is not something that we see very often. So I'm very impressed with that. And then in terms of sculpt and overall deco, this has got to be one of the most stunning figures from the Force Awakens line so far. As you can see, you've got all these different tones and shades on Ackbar's head, which just really bring it to life and give it so much depth. The sculpt itself on the head is absolutely phenomenal. There is so much detail going on there. You've got some nice sculpted texture in the Resistance uniform, with the rank badge on the chest there as well. Obviously some great detail on the hands as well. Just an overall great figure. I am very, very impressed with this one. Ackbar was never one of my favourite characters, but I always liked his action figures. The vintage collection figure from a few years back was one of the best yet. But this guy, despite limited articulation, it's a rival to it, I've got to say. The sculpt, detail and all that sort of stuff, even the paint apps are absolutely on point, and I really do like this figure and I can't recommend it enough. Now, in addition to the build weapon accessories that I gave you a look at earlier on in the review, we do get a regular blaster rifle with Ackbar, which is the same Resistance blaster that we've seen with figures such as Poe Dameron and also the Resistance Trooper. So it's really nice to see some consistency across the board there. And again, just a really, really cool figure. Very happy with this one. I think you guys will be too. And if you want to purchase this guy for yourself, as always, be sure to hit the link in the video description, which will take you to staractionfigures.co.uk, where at the time of filming this review, he's in stock and available to buy, and that is not a trap. So make sure you head on over there and pick this one up. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back with many more Build-A-Weapon figures very soon. I've got a plethora of these guys to give you a look at, and some very cool characters coming up and on the way, so make sure you stay tuned for them. So, until then, as always, thank you for watching, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.